So this is your warehouse, Anthony?
Yeah, and this is our full production so far to date. We filled about 7 casks in December, and the balance we've filled since March 2006.
Traditional racked 3-high dunnage warehouse?
Yes.
Earth floor?
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to do it in the most traditional way, and for maturation reasons I think this is the best form of maturing malt whisky.
So you've produced all this since March. What are you going to do when you've filled the warehouse?
Well, this will be filled by the middle of next year. This can hold about 650, 700 casks. There's 250 in it now. We're filling about 12 casks a week, 400 casks this year, and so by the middle of next year it'll be full. And then we've located farm buildings on Islay that we can rent for future warehousing.
Tell me something about your wood policy. What are you filling at the moment?
We're filling into fresh and refill, 1-to-1 fresh and refill bourbon barrels. At the moment we're buying all our wood from Speyside Cooperage, but the idea is to buy all our fresh from bourbon distillery, Buffalo Trace, if we can persuade them to let us have some of those. And we're also, so 90% is bourbon, refill and fresh, and the balance will be sherry butts. We're actually getting in some sherry butts in the next few weeks to fill those, about 20 sherry butts, and we'll see how they go. And
are these fresh or refill or a mix?
No, they are 3-year-old Oloroso sherry casks.
They will have held Oloroso for 3 years?
Yes.
Yeah. And will you bottle them separately, or do you think you'll vat them?
Well, the bourbon,
woods,
I think we'll probably keep them separate. But again, it's something that we'll look at the time.
It's a case of seeing how it performs.
Yes, and I think the difference between the bourbon maturation and the sherry will be interesting to see how that looks and shapes up.
So finally, the question which I'm sure most of our viewers will want an answer to is, when will Kilchoman be available as a single malt?
Well, we very much hope, and the signs are pretty good, that in 4 or 5 years' time we'll have a very, very good single malt that we can bottle. The idea is that we'll bottle some at 5 and we will make a release then, and then at 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 years old. But obviously we'll see how things develop, and things might change between now and 3 or 4 years' time. But Jim Swan, who's our production consultant, is very confident that we'll have a very drinkable single malt at 4 or 5 years.
Is 5 years not a bit young?
Well, no, I think the industry has changed its view on younger aged malt whisky. In the old days, the wood policy didn't allow for whiskies to be bottled too young, and 10 years is always the norm. But now I think all distilleries are looking after their wood regime a lot closer. The casks are fresher, newer, and therefore it allows you to bottle at a much younger age. So 4 or 5 years is now acceptable within the industry. I still think that the industry is being guarded about putting the age statement on the bottles, and still 10 years is generally the norm. But no, every distillery now releases younger whiskies, and it's something that everyone's now accepting.
This is particularly the case in Islay, I think.
Well, I think on Islay, you know, as everybody would appreciate, the higher the phenol content, the longer you leave it maturing, the less potency that the peat has. So you could argue that at a younger age you get more peatiness in the malt than you would do at 10. So at 5 years you got more peatiness in that malt than you would at bottling it at 10 years of age. So I think we are definitely going to be looking at bottling at a young age, and we're not going to be frightened of putting the age statement on the bottles.
And of course you get a lot of colour in the very early years of maturation, or indeed months of maturation, don't you?
Certainly, bourbon, the colour's taken up in the first few months, and then it sort of evens out. And it's, I mean, sherry obviously is much darker, but the colour is taken from the cask at a very quickly after it goes into cask.
So this is cask number 1 of that first batch in December.
Yeah, this is something, I mean, this is really treasured because it took me 5 years to get to this, and we'll be looking after that cask very well, and at some stage it will be released as a single cask bottling. So we filled this with 6 other casks on December the 14th, and then we had 3 months of sorting things out before we started filling the rest of the casks that you see in the warehouse now.